All right, man. You know, we had an election.
Yes.
We had an election. We're not really going to talk so much about the election that just happened in the United States. We're going to talk about kind of living here in Costa Rica, maybe outside looking in, how they view politics maybe a little bit. And we're going to get to it in about 45 seconds. Guys, I'm Michael. I'm from travelcostaricanow.com. If you haven't subscribed, please, man, YouTube's hard these days. Want to show some love for 16 years of information about living and traveling here. Fun way to donate. Buy me a coffee. It's the link in the description. You know I like coffee. You just can't buy me one cup, which is $5. Jeannie, I need at least 5. I'm thinking, right? I mean, you know, I'm poor. I want to upgrade my t-shirts.
You got to have more of that coffee to wake you up.
Anyway, guys, we're up at the Relocation Retreat. Jeannie talks here. We'll get to that in a second. If Costa Rica is on your radar, you're thinking you might want to live here, but you're not sure, this 6-day event might be for you. We're not trying to get you to move here, man. We try to give you information so you can make a good decision whether Costa Rica is right for you or it's, honey, we're moving to Belize. And we believe we offer that. So if you want to know, we got our new dates are coming up for the relocation. This one was jam-packed, Jeannie. I don't know if you haven't seen the crowd. We have a huge crowd. But anyway, the next one's going to be just as jam-packed. All that stuff, link in the description. Love to see you here. Now, Jeannie, we've made a few videos together, but just real quick, so I don't butcher it. So I don't butcher it. Tell people she presents here, but
I do 2 things. I help people get up online and take their skills and their hobbies and interests and everything they've been doing for the last 30 years and to take it online to a talent marketplace so they can continue to earn income, supplement their income, stave off their Social Security, whatever it is, stay purposeful and engaged, whatever it is, because you can't work down here. But that's for anybody. I work with people going anywhere in the world or staying at home in their home office. So I do that and I help them get up online. That's how I started. That's how I got here. That's how I became independent. I do that. And I also have a coaching service where I do transitional coaching. So a lot of what happens for people when people transition, my tagline is Thrive Through Transition. When people transition, there's a really exciting times about it. And it's exciting and it's fun and it's different. And your friends are kind of excited for you or in awe of you or whatever it is. And then there's the reality of what does it take to transition from one place to another? What is the narrative to have? What are the practices to be in? How do you move forward and do that happily and with gratitude, even when you hit the bumpy start, which you and I both know, bumpy landings when you're moving around, bumpy landings.
It's going to be a bumpy ride.
Yeah, and there's not a lot to offer for that. So people learn how, mostly people pack up and move like we did, and not a lot of help for could I do differently or how could I look at this differently to live in more gratitude while I'm getting my feet. Right?
I don't know. I think a couple things. I'm going to say it again. I've said this in all of the videos we do. Yeah. I've done a bunch of videos with Jeannie and her husband, James, which we missed. We wish she was here.
Yes.
But, I just remember them. They were explaining what they do. And I was like, people don't know that their skill, whatever they did in their life, they're thinking, well, I have this work. But what you said earlier, like they're not thinking of what they know.
No, thinking of their title.
How this could translate into the internet to be a service that they could make some money on. If it doesn't, forget Costa Rica, anywhere in the world, you can do this thing.
Anywhere in the world.
So she lets you know how, whatever you know, she can take and go, here's how you can make money on what you know.
And I work on a talent marketplace, so I show them how that works. And I think I mentioned before, you cannot make $10,000 a month. So just so you know, I think this is all good news.
You can't?
And the other news it's not passive income. So those are the 2 ways that marketing gets us now, that we all think we're going to make 10,000. No, this is a straight shot. So people need to do it. And there's just too much evidence that if we don't stay engaged, we don't have a purpose, and we don't be of service to people in some way, shape, or form, getting older can be a real issue. And it's good.
I think we are born to conquer and go on adventures and have a purpose. Yeah. You need a purpose. You don't have a purpose, you wither away.
Yeah. And the people that we know, we talked about this earlier, the people that we watch that retire, and no, I'm not meaning to be offensive, and people just stop, whatever your proclivities are. Now, if you love to garden and you turn your garden into an 8-hour-a-day project 5 days a week, good for you. But other people have proclivities that aren't so good for them. And then they stop working, and the next thing you know, they're just doing more of that. And it's not pretty. People get depressed, people get isolated. And it's just, it's not good.
So guys, if you're interested in whatever Jeannie just said, I'm going to put her email so you can contact her and talk to her personally. Well, you can skip me.
Yeah.
Skip me. Anyway, guys, we did have an election, yesterday, the day before, whatever it was. But and we're not going to get into that really, but we are going to maybe talk about like living in Costa Rica and how they view their psyche on this, to me, Costa Ricans are like we used to be back in like the 60s and 70s.
They do run about 50 years behind.
Yes, where you're my neighbor, I love you, we talk, but what we don't do is we don't talk politics and we don't talk religion. That's how it used to be. That's how I was brought up, actually. That's my dad used to say that. He's like, Mike, hey, we love, the neighbor's cool. We don't know. And it's good that we don't know because I still like them.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What do you think? I think that here, go ahead.
No. I mean, yeah, absolutely. At least in my experience, 3 years, and you've been here longer, it's a different, we went through recently went through a presidential cycle here in Costa Rica. And, I have Tico friends and asked them all about it. And it's a very, it's like a normal conversation, and you vote for who you vote for, and they like it or they don't, and they get on with the next one. But it's not nearly as heated. And the other thing that you can talk about, bring up is, how some of us live here when that's going on in the States, like what it's like to be here for us.
Well, I've mentioned this a few times. I'm actually a political junkie now. I just real briefly, when I look at the U.S., I see two sides of the same coin. So I'm not big on I think the politics is kind of broken in the United States. But that said, I still watch it like a reality show. You know what I mean? Like I'm watching, I go down rabbit holes. I pay attention.
Yeah.
I actually don't vote. So, which kind of means something because to me, voting is like, I'm not playing your game, man. I don't like any of you. But that's not.
But I don't hear you complaining, bitching.
Exactly. That's not the point. So I was watching this election, but what I kind of like living here is watching it from afar, and it saddens me to see some of the things that are happening, regardless of who. Well, so I get a little upset with that. But here you're living your life, and if you just kind of put your head down. And just pay attention. Where Costa Rica is a little, like what you were saying, is a little behind. Let's say, I'm older. I'm going to be dead sooner rather than later. So to me, if I can go 10, 15 more years, I'll be all right. Yeah. Maybe anything that's happening politically wise in the world will take its time to get here. Yeah. And in the meantime, I'll watch it. But I can turn it off and I can go live my life. Yeah. If I was in the United States, I'd be walking around with a fucking chip on my shoulder.
Yeah. I was just in the United States at the International Living Conference in Las Vegas doing the freelance coaching thing. It was crazy. Yeah, no, what we were saying earlier too is there's kind of an unspoken agreement here. In my neighborhood, my community, there's definitely people on opposite sides of the spectrum believing in different things. I would say that whoever your cohort is, you tend to have those people be your friends, that you hang out with or go to the brewer with, whatever. But when you show up someplace and there's numbers of people, there's no conversation about it. It's an unspoken agreement that we don't talk about it. I haven't been anywhere where the television is set to any particular station except sports.
Right, exactly. So it's a soccer game or it's nothing.
Or football for the gringos, for sure. The bars
but that's kind of nice. Yeah. That's a joke, actually, but if you think about it, I prefer that.
Yeah, no, you don't walk into a place and MSNBC or Fox is on. I'm using both ends of the spectrum. It's just not on. It's just nowhere here. And, my husband and I, we don't have a television, so we stream everything that we want to watch. And
you pick
I haven't watched the news in 3 years, but I read the news. I'm very much a junkie, but I read it every day. I have my set ones that are on all sides of the spectrum. I actually have a cool graphic I can send you for observing what you're reading. So I'm on top of everything, but I do it.
Which is fine. I mean, I do the same. Reading. I do the same.
Right.
But
it's not coming.
I can put that down.
Yeah.
I can put that down. And in my life here, like what you kind of said, if I go into a bar, I'm not watching. There's no Fox Mom. There's no MSNBC. There's no Trump sucks, Kamala sucks, whatever the hell you think it is.
Yeah.
There's a soccer game, and I like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's and they're kind of like that. I like that thinking because it's I don't know, man. It's hard to watch. Whether it doesn't matter where you are on the political, but if you watch it like probably both of us do, you're just kind of going, damn, that sucks, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But again, we can put it away. We can kind of put it away here. It's kind of nice.
Well, it's not in our face. That's the thing. It's not, there aren't signs in everybody's yards.
Right. Who you vote for?
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, it's just not. And good, bad, right, or wrong, it's just not. And, that's up to people to choose whether they want to live that lifestyle or they don't want to live that lifestyle. Some people like to be in the thick of it. It's a full choice. But I think what we're trying to say is when you're down here, if you're looking to get away from that and that's something that's not working for your health and well-being, you can have health
that's
and well-being
where I'm
here.
kind of going with this because, it may
it's
not be,
an earworm.
It may not be Costa Rica.
Right.
But if you can find a place where that's all noise, you don't have to live that life.
No.
I want to tell me what you think about this story. So, and I'm not going to get into COVID or if you fucking like vaccines or not. I'm just saying this is what happened. So I went and filmed with a friend. We went and filmed a protest during the the C word, the pandemic. And we were coming back. He's a building guy. He likes buildings. And we stopped at a granite place, where to tops. I shoot, but a big place, not just a little store. Yeah, like a warehouse. We went in, and it's not that we did it on purpose. We didn't do this on purpose. We didn't have our masks on. We weren't even thinking. We went in. They all had their masks on. We're looking at granite. The guy comes over, and we're talking. No mask. Everyone's wearing. This is the middle of COVID. What I love about Costa Rica is they were probably going, why aren't they wearing their masks? But they didn't say anything about the mask. They didn't go, raw. Yeah. You know what I mean? Now, again, we did not do this on purpose. So I don't want to make it like a politically statement or something. Yeah. We were in the car. Hey, let's stop there. We weren't thinking.
Yeah.
But what I like about it here is they might go, why aren't they wearing their masks? But they don't judge you not.
But that's Costa Rican culture too.
But that's what I'm trying to say. It carries over to where, okay, you can think whatever the hell you want.
People aren't in other people's business.
So let's say a Trump thing or something. If they're watching the news and they hated Trump, and I go, oh no, I like Trump or whoever, and they wouldn't go. Oh. They might, in their head, go, why is he like this person?
Right. Well, you're bringing up a whole thing that's changed, which you talked about earlier, which is back in the day, it wasn't like that either. Because, let's get real. We all had friends on both sides, and there's policy differences, and we all kind of stayed away from it. But at the end of the day, it was a policy thing. Yeah, right?
But I just like the idea that they don't really judge, and so it makes living life. Because I went to the States. My mom's in Maine. I just got back, and you can see people walk around. You can see the stress on their face just getting groceries.
When they're not talking to you.
Yeah, not even talking. Yes. It's just so the vibe here. Okay, regardless of politics, they keep it over there. They got it in their corner, and they think what they want to think. And it's not a priority. It's not top of mind for them. I think that the ones I talk to and work with, they definitely understand. They're in politics. They understand. Right. They have a point of view. They vote for their parties like we do. But it's just not a conversation. And I think that's partly the Pura Vida spirit. The people here, the locals, the Ticos, so much more committed to health and well-being in all ways. Health, well-being, brain, mental health, good health, outdoors than what we live in the United States. Which takes me to another place, which I don't think people, if you don't live outside of the United States, finally in science and everything, they're starting to realize mind and body are related.
Connected. Yes.
That stress you're carrying is a heart attack.
Yes.
That anxiety you're carrying around is it is.
It's
and so now they're starting to see it.
Literally.
And I guess my point is, when you come down here, there's a lot of stuff, like whether it's a political thing or even whatever.
Just a life situation.
Yes, it just changes. It's like a off your shoulder. The weight comes off your shoulders, and you think what you want, do you, and great. And nobody's going to ask you.
Nope.
Nobody gives a rip.
Nope.
But yet you get to go around your day. I don't know, man. I think the stress thing, it might be a little bit underestimated about living here, or not just here. Like, let's say Panama. I'm not trying to say Costa Rica.
Well, underestimated how?
No, underestimated. I don't think they understand that the way of life here just takes a huge weight off your shoulders. You don't have to pretend like there is no Trump and Harris. There is none of this stuff. Religion's out off the table.
You know what I found too is that when we moved here, one of the things that was interesting to me, and I'm still working through this, by the way, so it's not complete for me, but I also noticed that when I lived in the States, born and raised for, almost 60 years, so like all of you, how much it was about the have and have nots, right? You either had or you didn't. And if you didn't have, you shied away from people. You didn't talk about it. It was, I lived in Silicon Valley for 20 years. What house do you live in? What car do you drive?
What do you do?
What's in your bank account? What do you do? And what I found here, and I'm still working through it because it was 60 years of, is, it's not the same judgment here, right? I mean, I have friends that have way more than I have or will ever have in my born days, and they don't care how much I do or don't have. And it's just a really, still working through it. The authenticity to tell the truth about what you could never tell the truth about in the United States, where people here will love me if I tell them about a heart, like, look, I'm going to get upset. If I talk to my friends here that I've met here and I tell them about a hard time I'm having or a hard day that I'm having, I would never, ever have said in the States. It would have been a persona that I had to maintain.
Oh, it's strength. Weakness. It's this. It's
and that, here, my friends are, and we all came here. It took courage for everybody to get here, one way, shape, or form. We're all got trauma or something, but there's I don't know. And like I said, I'm still working it through. I'm not fully authentic yet. I'm still working on my authenticity and being able to tell about what's hard, like what we talked about yesterday. But I'm getting so much better, and I feel healthier because of that. And I know that is being in Costa Rica. I know that. Plus, getting older helps. It does help. But I know being in Costa Rica gives me more permission to be okay with whatever I felt in the United States wasn't okay or wasn't good enough or wasn't enough or should have been more or shoulda, coulda, wouldas. Does that make sense?
No, it does make sense. I want to tell, if you don't live in Costa Rica, I want to tell you something, a little bit of a tip maybe. So, when in the United States, when you meet somebody for the first time, you're shaking hands, and hey, my name is Michael. What's the next thing out of your mouth? What do you do? Here, that's almost seen as rude because why are you asking them that? Who cares what they do? And they don't act like that. So they're nice people. So they're not going to say, oh, that's fucking rude. And they'll tell you. But here, the conversation is, hey, what's your name? And talk.
Yeah. And
maybe later, hey, I was just wondering
about my spouse too.
What do you do?
Yeah.
But in the States, it's everything. I'm a lawyer, right?
Yeah.
I'm a doctor, right? I went to how you doing? Yeah. So you're trying to not even. Actually, it is kind of a one-up. It's like I'm the doctor.
It's always a one-up.
What do you do?
Yeah, and then you don't say anything because you're not a doctor.
So here, which I like, which I love about this, because I actually did make this big early on. I didn't know that, hey, Mike, hey, what do you do? I didn't mean it like that.
No, you come from.
But then somebody told me, they don't do that, man. So who cares what he does? You meet him?
That's not how they don't measure happiness. I mean, they like what you do matters to everybody, but they don't measure you by that.
Yeah, but how cool is that?
Well, it's so cool. Here's my thing, and I'm going to say it. I don't know if I've ever said this out loud, but I'll just tell you a pet peeve, and I piss people off. But here's my thing.
No, don't. My channel doesn't piss people off.
That's why I feel so good here. No, here's my thing, though. So my husband and I, we've been together, for those who've been together and married for a really long time, may get this. We've been together over 38 years. We've been married 36 years.
To James?
Very rarely, yes, I know, but I know you're jealous. It's true.
James? Really? She put up with you that long?
Yeah, or other way around. What always interests me is the interest in what I did for a living or the house I lived in. Do you know how rare it is for anybody to say, wow, you've been married for that long and you're happy and it's going well? Jeannie, will you sit down with me, maybe with James or without James?
And tell me how that happened?
Or I'm supposed to be married next year and I don't really know how to do it. And there's a 50% divorce rate. Would you talk to me about what it is you two do or what your practices are that enable you to do it, and not only do it, but to do it happily? Zero. Not anybody says.
Well, there's no drama in that.
How do you do it, and how do you stay? Nobody ever does that. Now, here, what I find is interesting is nobody here has asked me that either, but it's a different conversation when James and I show up together. Like Ticos will ask, how long have you two been together? Do you have children? What are they doing now? They don't even ask what we do.
It's funny. I don't know how this. I don't know how this.
I don't know how that went over with all of you,
chatting. So we just got done lunch about an hour ago. So I was sitting with a couple that had married 19 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked them, I go, and Sarah was there.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah's my partner in the Relocation Retreat, a fellow YouTuber. So we're sitting there in this group, and I say, or maybe it wasn't even me. Somebody goes, what keeps you together for 19 years, 20 years, 35 years? I was married 20 years. I said, this was my answer, and you can tell your answer. My answer was that you forgive their fucked upness and you love them unconditionally, even though they're flawed. You know they're flawed. You don't harp on their flaws. And now that may not be a great answer, but that was my answer. And then this couple were saying their answers, like unconditional or whatever it was. But I just find it funny that we were talking about that. Now we're talking about it now. So what would be your answer?
So my answer is not simple. I actually have a lot to say about that. If anybody wants to chat about it, I would love to chat with you about it.
Well, give me the outline version.
I will give you the one main thing, like the elevator speech. This is what I tell people. I believe that we all are made up of our virtues and our vices.
Yes.
And
agreed.
Virtues are always vices, and vices are always virtues.
Your blessing is always your curse.
So when James does something in my life that is a vice for me that day, in that moment, what I remember is tomorrow, that vice today is going to be his virtue for me. So I don't quibble about it when it's a vice. And I'll give you a very specific example, and that'll be what I'll say. When we were little and raising our kids, when we go to parties, I usually like to stay, and he does not like to stay. It's kind of a joke with anybody who's ever known James. He only sits for so long, and he's done, right? And I had to get used to that. Then we started having children. And what I realized was we would now go to parties with our children, as people who have children get together, and we would drive 2 cars. We would go to the party. The children would play.
Okay, it's kind of funny.
James would be done.
This is kind of funny.
He would be done. He would take the kids and go home. I would stay, have another glass of wine. I get home. They have been fed. They have been put in the bath. They are now in bed with a story read. And I missed the entire thing, which was fabulous. Now, the next day, we're out to dinner with some friends. After an hour and a half, he's kind of getting itchy. And I'm thinking, this itchiness worked for me yesterday. It's not working for me today. So what I'm going to do is go, I think we got to get going because James is at his limit. And our whole life is like that. And that's just my exact example of the minute my brain went, that vice that drives me crazy sometimes, right now is a virtue. And it continues to be a virtue all the time, our whole life. And that's my nutshell. Somebody
I know you kind of took what I said and made it better.
Virtue and vice.
Because everyone knows your curse is your blessing. Because your blessing, whatever you're good at, is what can be the downfall of you as well.
Yep.
So, which is true. So I just kind of said, but I like yours better because it's positive and negative, which is how it goes.
And it's just like, if you don't like it now, suck it up. Because tomorrow it's going to work.
I know, it's interesting. So we did ask these questions to these people, and I don't know, it is interesting. Why do people stay together and what it is? And
well, at the end of the day, jobs end, careers end, titles go, children grow up and go away.
Presidents get elected and they leave, and you got to carry on. You got to carry on.
But if you found a spouse and you have somebody that you like, and you are compatible, and you do well, and you support each other, and you have fun together, and you laugh, and you have a good life, with a lot of you have that. That sticks with you to the end, right? The other thing is James always comes first. I'm a mom, I raised my kids, but I knew at the end of the day, the kids are going to go and live a life, and he's the one who's going to.
Oh no, your partner comes first. I don't care.
People don't.
Anytime no offense, but when somebody says the kids are first,
yeah,
I'm already. I'll let you say it. But if your partner's not first in your fucking life, I'm just like, what are we doing here? What are we doing? So your kids are first? I love my kids too. I'm not saying.
Right.
But man, my partner's who's anyway, I don't want to don't want to get in trouble.
Well, no, they're the ones that are going to wipe your butt at the end of life. Yeah.
Oh.
Here we go.
I'm getting there too.
We're done.
Yeah, we're done. Anyway, Jeannie, always a pleasure to talk to you. Always provide great insight.
Bye, everybody.
Just, I forget what the camera's on sometimes with you. I forget the camera. Guys, I'm Michael Allen, travelcostaricanow.com. My videos are going to pop up right there and right there. If you're thinking about living or traveling anywhere, always do your homework and research. And if it's Costa Rica, Jeannie, I'm saying my videos might be a good start.
Oh, I watched them all before we moved.
Yeah. So she watched all 1003.
1003.